Hi all, welcome to this channel, and in this video session I'll discuss using transition table in SQL trigger. So let's see this example which I created. So I'll explain this transition table concept in trigger using this example. So we actually know there are two things: either the trigger is activated on every row or on each statement. So we know there is a mode of DB2 SQL or DB2 row. So if that is applicable on each row, then for we use for each row, and mode is DB2 row. And when it is applicable on each statement, so for each statement mode DB2 SQL. So there may be, let's say you are executing some statements, so there may be chances that multiple rows gets affected using that insert, update or delete. So if I am inserting, I can insert multiple rows with one statement, insert statement. I can delete many rows, I can update many rows with one statement. So with each statement I can perform an insert, update or delete, which may affects one or many rows. So in this case, if I want to use all those rows uh, in my trigger program, then we actually know that when we apply this trigger on each row, then that would be applicable to each row. So we don't have access to every affected row at that time. So at a particular time I would have the uh, access to that row, old or new or whatever thing is available to us, value is available to us. Now here in this way, if we want that multiple rows gets affected with the one statement, then we can access all the rows which are changed either from insert or from delete or uh, update. So in that case, if you want to apply the, let's say, the aggregate function on those rows, we can do that, like sum, like min max, anything which you want to apply. So in that thing we have a virtual table concept, which actually does not exist, but we use them as a reference. So here we are going to use the transition table concept. So let's see how we will be doing that. So I am creating an trigger named this is the trigger name, and I would keep the program name, that is the object which gets created on this IBM I system is named as trigger 10. So the actual trigger is this, but the object created with name this. Now this trigger is applied on after, means the trigger time is after, that is after update. So once the row gets updated, then I would be applying this. So I can apply this on insert or delete as well. So after update of number, off clause is basically used when we want that particular column, when particular column gets updated, then only this trigger is activated. So when number column gets updated or changed, then only this trigger is activated. So if there are many columns in a table, then only the particular column which we specified here is changed, then only that trigger is comes into effect. So if we are inserting, so what we have, if we do not have the old table, we always have the new table available. And if we are deleting, we always have the old, we don't have new table. If we are updating, we have both old and new tables, which contains those rows which are actually affecting from an insert, update or delete operation statement, or you can say. Now referencing new table as new table, old table as old table. So earlier when we are applying the trigger on each row, we are using new row as new or old row as old, like that. So but here this time we are using the table concept, the virtual table concept. So here in this update operation, we have access to both new and the old table, transition table, so you can say the virtual tables. So this trigger is applied on for each statement. So for every statement, so one statement can modify multiple rows. Mode is DB2 SQL. Mode is DB2 SQL. So it is let's say once that statement is executed and that updates all the rows uh, through that statement, then only this trigger comes into the effect. So basically every row gets updated, then at last once the statement is fully complete, after updating all sets of rows which comes under that condition or whatever we specified, then only this trigger gets activated. So this is, I already explained the name of the trigger object. Now this is the begin and end clause. So inside that we would be writing our logic. So here I am declaring two variables. One is old underscore total and second one is new underscore total. So basically what I'm doing, I have a file. Let's say let's do this, select star from trg pf6. So we have only this field number, and which is decimal 3,0. So we have 5 rows. So I'll be showing you here. So number 3,0 is the the limit or the size of that column, but here we took 9,0 because we are actually summing them. So once we sum them, it could be chances that the result would be more than 3,0 size. So here I am declaring old underscore total as this, new underscore total as this. So basically what I am doing here, so once this trigger is activated, we have a new and old table there in the memory, and we are basically doing select some number into old underscore table into this variable. So I am summing then all the numbers which are affected. So basically this is summing all the rows which are affected from the update operation. So let's say currently this table has 5 rows. So if 5 rows gets affected, we have the sum of those 5 rows. If only one row gets affected, we have the sum of one row, means that row only. And if we have 2 or 3 rows affected, so we have the sum of 2 or 3 rows only, not all rows. So it depends upon how many number of rows are affected from that update operation or change from that update operation. So this would contain that sum. So now I'm selecting some of number field into this variable which I declared here from old table. So this has the image of the old data which is already there in the table. So after update we have a new image, that is whatever number we are updating to from an old number. So again I am selecting new number into this variable from new table. So here you can see I am using two old and new transition tables and getting all the sum of all the affected rows into these variable in my trigger program. Then what I'm checking, if new underscore total is greater than old underscore total, so I would be supposing or inserting a new record into the trgpf7 file, and there are two columns there. Let's see what they are: total and remarks. So total is something which is coming from the new underscore total. So this value was retrieved just because to check this condition whether this is greater than this value or not. And again we are here inserting the new value only. So new total is inserted into this table with a remark, that is update is happening, and here it is incrementing the value, and here insert this new underscore total, and this is decrement. So if and else conditions are here. So this is the overall picture of this transition table. So you got to know now how you can use the transition table concept, and you can apply a aggregate function over that. So basically it contains all the affected rows. So I'll be once I'm debugging this, I'll be showing you how it only uses those affected rows. So let's first thing is to compile this. So use run SQL stm command. SQL trigger is source physical file. This one is library, and source member is trigger 10. Commitment control is set to star none, and debug v star source, so that we could debug this. Okay, it's trigger 0 which is not available, trigger 10. So this is compiled successfully. Just do work object trigger 10. Okay, so you can see the trigger gets created whose name is using transition SQL trigger using transition table. Its creation date is this, and all this information of type attribute. So let's debug this. Set the breakpoint, and then we need to perform update operation. So only on update this trigger gets fired. So let's see if this table has 5 records, if this table has no records. Okay, just update this table fully. So I am updating this to 100. So actually this time I am updating all the rows. So you can see this is a trigger which is applied at after update. So update is happened actually. Let's see. So you can see all the rows are updated to 100 from 200. Now let's see. Let's debug this. This is default null. This again null. Select this sum from this into this variable. So this variable is now 1000 because in old table we are getting this value from the old table. So old table has 200 value for each row, and there were 5 rows. So total was 1000, and for new it's now become 100, so it's 500. So if new total is greater than this, that's not true, so it goes to else part and it will update this. So 5 rows updated in this. Let's see. So this was updated here. Let's see one record insert into the trgpf7. Yes, sure. The total is 500. Remarks update decrement. So if I now set to it back to the let's say 3, not 200, let's say update it to the 300. So let's see first whether that is updated or not. So all rows are 300 now. So this becomes 500. Now old table contains 500 because the old value was 100 for each row, and this is 1500. Now it's true, this condition gets true, and it would insert second row having total 1500, update increment. Okay, now let's say just check the RRN 45678. So this time I'm going to update this to 100, and I'm only going to update only 2 rows. Let's say I'm updating 2 rows only. So if I'm applying where clause RRN in 4 comma 5, just copy this. So we have seen that there were two RRN 4 and 5 we are going to update. Just select all the fields. So we are updating these two values to 100, so they becomes 100 from 300. Let's update this. So we can see the trigger gets fired on that update. Just check. So only 2 rows gets updated to 100. So now we would be having access to only those 2 rows which are affected from this update operation. So let's see. So the old total would contain 600. Currently this is null. After this we have 600 because we have access to those two, because in the old table there are 2 rows which are affected. So earlier the value was 300, so 300 plus 300 is 600. Now new underscore total would be 200 because the new values are 100 for those 2 rows which are affected. So we have the old and new values for those 2 rows changed. Now this is going to else part and it will update. So this was already updated. Let's see 7. So this file has another record 200 updating decrement. So this way we can use the concept of transition table in SQL trigger, and we have noticed that we only have an access to those set of rows which are actually affected from the update operation. So here we can apply this transition table concept either to the update or to the insert or to the delete. So it depends upon us how we are going to use this. So we have this concept, and based upon the requirements we can use this. So that's all in this video. Thank you and have a nice time.